I am the villain in a story about a runaway bride and her secret baby. My father was just about to sign over a portfolio of downtown real estate, a dowry worth $5 billion to my fiance Noah Harrison when words appeared in the air before me, shimmering like a heat haze. What a fool this villainous is. In 3 days, the heroine will return from overseas with a child. By then she'll lose both the man and the money. That's not all. Because she humiliates the heroine, the hero will bankrupt her family's company. Her father will have a stroke. Her mother will lose her mind, and she'll be handed over to a group of men hired by the hero and left for dead. Then the hero will let the heroine take over the villainous family company. TSK, the ultimate rags to riches story. My hand shot out and snatched the portfolio transfer agreement from the table. Meeting Noah's sharp questioning gaze, I offered him a cool smile. Let's sign a prenup first. How about this? If, within the first 3 years of our marriage, you cheat, become violent, or are discovered to have a secret child, you'll pay me 3 times the value of my dowry, and the engagement settlement is non-refundable. Deal. My knuckles were white, my grip on the document unyielding. The warm, celebratory atmosphere of our family dinner instantly turned cold. Noah stared at me for several seconds, a slow, unreadable smile playing on his lips. Tessa, he said, his voice dangerously soft. Are you treating our marriage like a business transaction? His parents immediately jumped in, trying to smooth things over. Oh, Tessa, you know Noah, you two have known each other since childhood. There's never been another woman in his life. But the words in the air kept scrolling. Well, that's technically true. The hero was drugged when he had that one night stand with the heroine. He barely remembers it himself. Slept with her and slept with her. The hero can only belong to the heroine. But how did the villainous guess? Rich girl doesn't equal dumb girl. She's the ace to the Ford Corporation. After all, a little risk assessment is normal. Suddenly I feel like this villainous has some game. I'm starting to worry about my girl, the heroine. My parents tugged at my sleeve. Tessa, darling, we trust Noah. He's not that kind of person, but I didn't let go of the agreement. It seems you don't have much faith in me, Tessa, Noah said coldly. In that case, perhaps we should postpone the engagement party. Without another word, he turned and walked out. I watched his tall, impeccably tailored figure disappear down the hallway before I finally allowed myself to breathe. Losing the man was one thing. Losing $5 billion in prime Manhattan real estate, that was irreplaceable. When we got home, my parents scolded me for being reckless. Our engagement party was supposed to be in 3 days. The entire upper echelon of New York society had been invited, the engraved invitations already sent. Tonight's dinner was meant to finalize the wedding plans. A postponement would undoubtedly spark gossip, but compared to what was supposed to happen at that party, a little gossip was nothing. A 5-year-old boy clinging to Noah's leg and calling him daddy. A little boy who, according to the text, was the spitting image of a young Noah Harrison. That Mom, I said calmly, you met more people than I've had hot dinners. Tell me how many men, with Noah Harrison's wealth and status, are truly saints. Even if he was one before, that's no guarantee for the future. My words gave him pause. Finally, they relented. They would speak to the Harrisons in a few days. We would use the excuse of me feeling unwell to postpone the party for a month. A month was fine. After all, the heroine was due to arrive in 3 days. As a gesture of apology to our esteemed guests, the engagement party was rebranded. 3 days later, it became a gala celebrating the Ford Corporation's successful bid to develop a new public plaza project in the city center. The same elite crowd gathered, sipping champagne and networking. The Harrisons were, of course, on the guest list. I had just stepped out of my car when new words floated before my eyes. Here we go. The first meeting between the heroine and the villainous. Can't wait for the classic hero saves the damsel scene. The cute little munchkin is here to help mommy find daddy. I wonder if the villainous will regret postponing the engagement when she sees them. She lost her only chance to lock the hero down. Ha! My eyes instinctively scanned the lavish ballroom, searching for a small child. But before I could spot them, Noah appeared, walking toward me in a sharp black suit, his presence commanding as ever. As you requested, he said quietly, I'll have the prenuptial agreement notarized and sent to you as soon as possible. The engagement party will proceed as planned 1 month from now. He looked down at me, eyes filled with a kind of playful curiosity, but I have to admit, I'm intrigued. Who's been giving you advice? We may have grown up together, but I'd always known Noah. Harrison was a man ruled by logic, not passion. If it hadn't been for our parents pushing us together, I doubt he would have ever looked my way. He probably thought I was just like all the other socialites, an empty-headed debutante with a pretty face. It was only after I got my acceptance letter to Wharton that he even considered dating me. His idea of a romantic confession had been, "It seems I've underestimated you." If there had ever been a flicker of affection, it was gone now. He must think I'm a cold, calculating schemer. Meeting his probing gaze, I just smiled. Who can say no to a good insurance policy with a $15 billion penalty clause and a $6 billion engagement settlement at stake? I could find any man I wanted. Just then a commotion erupted near the entrance. A young woman in a simple white dress with a sweet, innocent face rushed into the venue, grabbing people by the arm. "Excuse me, have you seen my son?" The security guard frowned. "Ma'am, this is a private event. Please leave immediately." But the woman was on the verge of tears. "No, my son is missing. He's only 5. I have to find him." As she struggled, she stumbled and fell, scraping her leg on the marble floor. Instantly, a little boy darted out from behind a floral arrangement and slammed into the guard. "Don't bully my mommy." The woman scooped the boy into her arms. They huddled together, crying. A picture of pure misery. Noah watched the scene unfold, frowning. "It seems the security at the Ford estate is lacking," he said. Then, as if to spite me, the famously aloof man strode forward and extended his hand. "Get up. I'll have someone take you to the hospital." The woman stared at him, eyes wide as if she'd seen a ghost. Then she grabbed her son and tried to run, but the boy's face lit up with joy. "Daddy, Mommy, I found Daddy." The child's voice was clear and high, drawing every eye in the ballroom. Before anyone could react, the woman vanished into the night with the boy in her arms. My father appeared beside me, his face grim. "What was that about?" I shrugged. "No idea." But the kid called. "Noah, Daddy, see, Dad told you the prenup was a good idea." Our conversation carried just enough for nearby guests to overhear. The mood soured. Later, the Harrisons came over to offer an explanation. Mrs. Harrison insisted. "Tessa, there must be some misunderstanding." Noah's face was stormy. "I can't possibly have a son for her to show up now at this exact moment. She's clearly after something." The floating text returned. "This isn't how it's supposed to go. Shouldn't the hero abandon the villainous and chase the heroine? Why is the villainous so calm? Don't worry. Once the heroine starts working at his company, the plot will get back on track." "Oh, she's going to work at Harrison Industries," I murmured, amused. I looked at Noah. "Are you sure you don't want a paternity test first? What if he really is from a wild night you don't remember?" A vein pulsed in his temple. He grabbed my wrist tightly. "Tessa, I don't know who's been whispering in your ear, but listen to me. Other than you, I've never laid a finger on another woman. I'll find her and get to the bottom of this. Then our engagement will proceed as planned. Fine by me. Let's see you get past hiring the heroine first." After the gala disaster, my parents stopped mentioning the engagement. Meanwhile, rumors about Noah and the Harrisons spread through every circle. At Harris Industries, I felt the weight of every whisper. "Did you hear? Mr. Harrison has a secret son." The mother and child caused a huge scene at the Ford estate. I was still listening when the head of HR passed with a group of new hires. Among them was the heroine, Ava, still dressed in white, her expression a mix of nerves and hope. I was about to step closer when I nearly collided with Noah. He looked exhausted, radiating a do not approach aura. He caught my arm. "Where are you going?" "Oh, nowhere. Just thought I saw someone I knew," I replied lightly. Noah frowned, glancing toward where I'd been looking. The group had already moved on, and he only saw a handsome young man carrying 2 coffees. The man smiled politely, and Noah's grip on my arm tightened. "You know, your eyes used to only be for me. What's this? Developed new taste recently?" Before I could explain, he turned to his assistant. "Who is that?" "New recruit from Yale, sir," the assistant said nervously. "Transfer him to Stanford," Noah ordered, then turned back to me. "A word of advice, Tessa. Be careful with pretty boys. They're usually after your money." After the meeting, we passed the same young man packing his desk. I paused. "A top graduate from Yale. And you're sending him away? Seems like a waste. If you don't want him, I'll take him. He can work for me at Ford." Noah slammed his hand against the cubicle wall. Tessa, our engagement is postponed, not canceled. The office fell silent. A timid voice spoke up. Mr. Harrison, my files. I looked down and froze. Noah's hand was pressed on a pile of paperwork, belonging to none other than Ava. He followed my gaze, and his expression darkened. What is she doing here? She must be one of the new hires, his assistant stammered. The text went wild. Here it is, the confrontation. Go on, hero. Break off the engagement and run. To the heroine. But Noah's expression wasn't love. It was fury. Ava looked up and froze. Panic crossed her face. She tried to run, tripped, and fell right at my feet. I'm sorry, she cried. I didn't know this was your company. I'll leave right now. Noah grabbed her arm. Wait, you're not going anywhere until you explain yourself. She trembled, refusing to answer. Just then, the little boy ran out from behind a pillar and hit Noah's leg. Bad daddy? You're bullying mommy. Under the bright lights, the resemblance was undeniable. He was Noah's miniature. Even Noah's composure faltered. The whispers began. The resemblance is uncanny. Maybe he really is the father. Noah's jaw clenched as he escorted them to his car. I tried to slip away, but he pulled me in too. We're settling this today in front of both families. At the Harrisons' penthouse, Ava stood protectively before her son, enduring our family scrutiny. The room was thick with tension. Noah, are you absolutely certain you don't know her? Mrs. Harrison asked. A video of the office scene was already viral. The comments were brutal, calling Noah a callous billionaire refusing to take responsibility. The text hovered mockingly. Why isn't the hero protecting his wife? Oh, right. The villainous is still there. I looked at Noah. This seems simple. Get a paternity test. If the boy is yours, I'll call off the wedding. Tessa, don't you dare. He snapped. I gestured toward the boy. Look at that face. You really see no resemblance. He seemed speechless. Then Ava suddenly fell to her knees, dragging her son down. I'm so sorry. I never should have disturbed your lives. It's all my fault. If only I hadn't given birth to him before anyone could. Stop her. She slapped the child's face. Again and again. I told you not to call random in, Daddy. Apologize or forget you ever had a mother. The boy wailed, clinging to her. I'm sorry, Mommy. I'm sorry. Even Noah flinched. Mrs. Harrison hesitated, torn. That was it. I stepped forward, seized wrist, and pulled the trembling child into my arms. That's enough, Miss Miller, I said, my voice low and cold. Don't you think you've gone a little too far? The room was dead silent after my words. The kind of silence that hums in your ears and crushes your chest. Everyone stared. Noah, our parents, the servants, lingering near the doorway. No one dared breathe. Ava froze, her wrist trembling under my grip, eyes glassy with shock. The boy in my arms was still crying, small hands clutching at my dress as though his life depended on it. Let go of me, Ava whispered, her voice. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I cut her off, my tone calm, but razor sharp. You're terrified. But taking it out on your child? That's not courage, Miss Miller. That's cowardice. Ava's lips trembled. You think I want this? She shouted suddenly, her composure cracking like glass. Do you think I want to be here, humiliated in front of all of you? I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for any of it. Her voice broke as she dropped her gaze to the marble floor. For a fleeting second, I saw something raw flicker in her expression. Not guilt, but desperation. It was gone as quickly as it came. Noah stood rigid, fists clenched at his sides. His knuckles were pale, his expression unreadable. For a man famed for his control, he looked ready to snap. ABA, he said at last, his tone dangerously quiet. If you truly have nothing to hide, then take the test. Right here, right now. The color drained from her face. I can't. Not without a lawyer. A humorous laugh escaped my throat. A lawyer? For a DNA test. How convenient. Noah's gaze flicked toward me, and for a heartbeat, our eyes met. His expression was a storm, rage, doubt, and something else buried underneath. Guilt, perhaps. Mrs. Harrison, ever the peacemaker, tried to intervene. Enough, everyone. This is getting out of hand. Ava, dear, please take the test tomorrow. We'll have it done privately. But the damage was already done. The tabloids had caught wind of the story hours ago. Harrison, heir secret child, blared across every gossip feed before sunrise. The next day, Harrison Industries looked like a war zone. Reporters crowded the lobby, cameras flashing as I walked through the revolving doors. Security had to escort me upstairs. Inside, every conversation stopped the moment I appeared. I was the villain now, just as the text in the air had warned. Noah was already in his office, sleeves rolled up, pacing behind his desk like a caged animal. His tie was loosened, his hair slightly disheveled. I couldn't remember the last time I'd seen him this uncollected. Tessa, he said without preamble. The board is in chaos. Stock prices dipped 2% overnight. My father wants to shut down all press statements until the results come in. I closed the door quietly. And what about you, Noah? What do you want? He looked at me sharply. I want the truth. Good, I said, folding my arms. Then we're on the same side. He laughed bitterly. You really think so? You've been treating me like a criminal since the moment that woman appeared. Maybe because criminals usually say they're innocent. I replied evenly. And because the last time you looked at her, you froze like you'd seen a ghost. His jaw tightened. You're imagining things. Am I? I stepped closer, my voice dropping because the rest of the world saw it too. Noah, every person with a phone saw that video of you chasing after her. You didn't deny it. You didn't deny him. His hand slammed against the desk, rattling the glass pen. Hold it. Enough, Tessa. I don't owe you an explanation. Every time someone cries wolf, I didn't flinch. No, but you owe me honesty. You owe me respect. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The tension between us crackled like static. Finally, he exhaled and sank into his chair, looking utterly defeated. You think I wanted this? He muttered. You think I want people whispering that I'm some kind of deadbeat father? That I seduced a stranger and abandoned her? I don't know what you want, Noah, but I know what you've done. You've underestimated me. That earned me a sharp look. You always say that like it's an accomplishment. It is, I said, softly, because every time someone does, I win. He stared at me speechless for once. I took that as my cue to leave. The next morning, Ava showed up at the clinic with a boy in tow. The cameras were already waiting. I watched from my car as the crowd parted for her. She looked fragile in her pale coat, clutching the child's hand tightly, her eyes red but determined. The internet adored her, the brave single mother, standing up to the billionaires. I was trending too, but not for the right reasons. Heartless eras humiliates poor mother and child. Tessa Ford's $1 billion jealousy meltdown. I scrolled through the comments, the bile rising in my throat. She's rich and spoiled. Of course, she's trying to cover up her fiance's affair. Can't she let them be happy? Every word felt like a slap. Noah arrived moments later, surrounded by security. His eyes found me through the tinted glass of my car. For a heartbeat, I thought he'd walk over, but he didn't. He went straight inside. Ava followed. The boy waved shyly at the reporters, his face an angelic echo of Noah's childhood photos. It was uncanny. The test took less than an hour. The results, we were told, would take 24 hours. 24 hours to decide the rest of my life. That night, I sat alone in my penthouse, the city glittering beneath me like a bed of diamonds. My phone buzzed endlessly. Texts from friends, acquaintances, distant relatives who suddenly remember my number. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. Is it true? I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I poured myself a glass of wine and opened my laptop. My inbox was flooded with messages from PR agencies, lawyers, and shareholders. The stock of Ford Corporation had dipped slightly. 2. Guilt by association. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled. So this is how the story goes, I murmured to myself. The villainous loses her man, her money, and her pride. Then, as if on cue, the glowing words appeared, again floating just above my screen. But what if this villainess doesn't play by the rules? I froze. What if she rewrites the story instead? I stared at the words until they faded, leaving me alone in the silence of my apartment. Maybe that was exactly what I would do. The next day, the results came out. Negative. Noah wasn't the father. The entire internet erupted. Comment sections flooded with apologies, retractions, and disbelief. Harrison Industries' stock price rebounded within hours. The tabloids scrambled to rewrite their headlines, portraying Noah as the wrong hero and Ava as the deceitful liar. I should have felt relief. I should have felt vindicated. But all I felt was exhaustion. Ava disappeared from the clinic before the press could get to her. The boy was taken away by an unidentified. No one knew where they went. When I arrived at the Harrison estate that evening, Noah was waiting for me in the garden. He looked tired, but strangely calm, like someone who had Just survived a storm. You were right, he said quietly. I should have trusted you. I smiled faintly. I didn't say that, but I'll take the win. He chuckled under his breath, shaking his head. You're impossible and you're predictable, I said, turning toward the house. Now that the scandal's cleared, I assume you want to move the engagement forward again. He caught my wrist. Tessa, I paused. There was something raw in his tone that stopped me cold. You don't have to keep fighting me, he said. We're on the same side. I looked down, his hand on mine. Strong, steady, familiar, and for the first time, I wondered if maybe the story had changed more than I realized. Maybe I wasn't the villain anymore. Maybe neither of us were. But just as that thought settled, a new set of glowing words shimmered in the air between us. Don't relax yet, villainous. The heroine always gets a second chance. The morning after the test results, the city's gossip machine moved faster than the sunrise. Headlines screamed about the fallen heroine. Journalists scrambled to near AA's past. And by noon, Harrison Industries was already reclaiming its spotless image. But me? I was still the villain in half the headlines. Heartless. Aries turns out to be right. Cold, cunning, and always one step ahead. They made me sound like a chess master in stilettos. Maybe that wasn't entirely wrong. The air outside my office was thick with whispers when I arrived at Ford headquarters. Assistant stopped mid-sentence as I walked past. My secretary trailed nervously behind me, clutching a stack of morning reports. Miss Ford, there's been a development, she murmured. You might want to see this. She placed a tablet on my desk. A video began to play. Grainy footage, taken outside a hotel. ABA, wearing a hoodie and oversized sunglasses, was being escorted by two men in dark suits. Her son clutched a small backpack, looking frightened. Private investigators caught this early this morning, my secretary continued. Apparently, she tried to flee the city. Whose investigators? I asked, though I already knew. Mr. Harrison's. Of course. Noah didn't forgive easily. I turned off the screen. Keep monitoring. No press statement from our side. Yes, Miss Ford. When the door closed behind her, I leaned back inside. The whole affair should have been over. The DNA test had cleared Noah. The company's reputation was recovering, and our engagement was technically back on track. But something about AA's reaction, the panic in her eyes, the way she'd screamed at her son didn't sit right with me. Guilt couldn't twist a person like that. Do your could. That evening, Noah called. Tessa, he said, his voice low. I want to see you. There was something in his tone that made me pause. Not command, not apology. Something quieter, something close to regret. Where? I asked. My office. When I arrived, he was standing by the window, staring out at the glittering skyline. He didn't turn when I entered. You were right about everything, he said. Finally. About the prenup, the scandal. Even about Ava. That's becoming a pattern, I said lightly, though my voice lacked its usual bite. He exhaled and turned toward me. I tracked her down. She wasn't just some random woman from my past. She's someone's pawn. My brow furrowed. Pawn? He nodded. The company's rival, Balmonoldins. They've been trying to sabotage our joint project for months. Ava was desperate for money. They promised to clear her debts if she played the part of the heroine. I felt my stomach tighten. And the boy, he's not her biological son, Noah said grimly. He was part of the setup. An orphan from an adoption agency Volmont owns overseas. They faked documents, staged everything. I stared at him, a weight of his words sinking in. The plot wasn't just manipulation. It was warfare, corporate and personal, layered, like poison in a cup of champagne. Why? Tell me this? I asked quietly. Because they'll come after you next. I blinked. Me? You're the ace to the Ford Corporation, he said. And the Ford Harrison merger project is their biggest obstacle. If they can't destroy me, they'll target you. For a moment, the room was silent except for the city. Outside, horns, distant laughter, the hum of neon. Then let them try, I said. Finally, I don't scare easily. His lips curved into a faint, humorless smile. I know that's what terrifies them. Days passed. The tabloids found new scandals to feed on, and AA's story slowly faded from the headlines. But behind the scenes, something darker was unraveling. My assistant began receiving anonymous emails, grainy photos of me entering Harrison Industries, whispers about fraudulent mergers, corruption, and forged property titles. Someone was building a new story, and this time I was the target. At first, I ignored it. But when one of our shareholders abruptly pulled out of a multi-million-dollar deal I knew it was more than rumor. Noah called an emergency meeting at his penthouse that evening. His parents were there, as well as my father. Everyone looked exhausted, tense. Mr. Harrison poured himself a drink. It's coordinated. The timing is too precise. Whoever's behind this knows both. Company schedules. My father's gaze flicked to Noah. You're certain this isn't fallout from your scandal? Noah's jaw tightened. I'm certain. Then it's internal, I said quietly. They all turned to me. There's someone inside one of our companies feeding information to Valman, I continued. Someone who knows every move we make. Mr. Harrison frowned. You have proof? Not yet, I admitted, but I have instincts in mine. Have never been wrong. Noah leaned forward. Then let's test them. 2 nights later, I walked into the gala of Ammon Holdings was hosting downtown. It was the kind of event that smelled of expensive cologne, champagne, and deceit. My gown shimmered like liquid silver under the chandeliers. I could feel every pair of eyes on me, some admiring, most soiree. Bauman's CEO, a charming man named Christopher Vale, approached with an easy smile. Miss Ford, he greeted smoothly. Didn't expect to see you here. I thought the Harrisons had you on a leash. I smiled, pretending to sip my champagne. You should know, Mr. Vale, I don't work hollers. He chuckled. Touché though. I hear your fiance's been keeping you busy cleaning up scandals. I tilted my head. And yet, here I am, standing, breathing, outshining every woman in this room. His grin faltered just enough for me to notice. That's when I saw her, Ava, at the far end of the hall in a simple black dress, hair pinned back, clutching a tray of drinks. A server. So that's how far she'd fallen. Our eyes met. For a second, the world went still. Then she turned abruptly and disappeared through the side corridor. I followed. The hallway was dim, lined with gilded mirrors and muffled music from a ballroom. Ava was standing by a service door, breathing heavily. When she realized I was there, her shoulders stiffened. You shouldn't have come, she said, her voice shaking. Funny, I replied. I was about to tell you the same thing. She turned, tears pooling in her eyes. You don't understand. They're not done. You think you've won, but you haven't. They want both of you ruined. Who? I demanded. Ballman, she whispered. They used me. They said they'd help me pay for my son's surgery if I helped them destroy Noah. But when I backed out, they threatened to kill us. For a moment, my anger flickered into something else. Something dangerously close to pity. Then help me stop them, I said. She hesitated. It's too late. They already planted. The sound of footsteps cut her off. 2 men in black suits rounded the corner. Ava's eyes widened in terror. Go, she hissed. Go now. Before I could react, one of the men grabbed her by the arm. The other lunged toward me. I swung my clutch at his face and bolted down the corridor, my heels echoing like gunshots. The exit door burst open and I stumbled into the cold night air. I didn't stop running until I reached the parking lot. I slammed the car door shut and locked it, my pulse hammering in my throat. Through the windshield, I could still see the building's glowing facade and a dark figure watching me from one of the upper windows. When I got home, Noah was waiting outside my apartment, fury and fear written all over his face. Where the hell were you? He demanded. At the Volman Gala, I said simply. I found Ava. He froze. You what? She's terrified. She said they planted something, but she didn't finish the sentence. Noah's expression darkened. They've been trying to breach our project files for weeks. If they planted anything, he stopped mid-sentence. His phone buzzed. He answered it, listened for a moment, then went pale. What is it? I asked. They just leaked the merger contracts, he said hollowly. Every clause, every signature public. My blood ran cold. That's impossible. Those were kept offline. He looked at me, eyes full of realization and dread. Unless someone planted a virus inside the internal system. And suddenly I knew what Ava had been trying to say. The heroine hadn't just returned. She had left a time bomb behind. The leak hit the market like a detonation. Within hours, both Ford Corporation and Harrison Industries were under siege from the press, from investors, from competitors who smell blood. Headlines screamed about corruption, embezzlement, insider manipulation. Entire teams worked through the night trying to contain the fallout. By dawn, it was clear someone had engineered this perfectly. The virus wasn't just in Harrison's system. It had wormed into Ford's network too, replicating sensitive documents, leaking selective information, twisting numbers. to look incriminating. Noah's call came at 6 a.m. sharp. "Tessa," he said, his voice low and grim. "It's worse than we thought. Bauman's already filed for an injunction. They're claiming the plaza project was built on stolen blueprints." I stood by the window of my apartment, staring out at the pale Manhattan skyline. My coffee had gone cold hours ago. "Then we fight back," I said simply. There was silence on the other end, the kind that comes when a man is calculating the cost of survival. "We might not win this," Noah said. "Finally, they've buried us under fabricated evidence. Even our partners are starting to back away. Then we'll burn their lies down." I replied, "All we need is one crack in their story." He didn't answer for a moment. Then, quietly, he said, "Meet me at headquarters. There's something you need to see." When I arrived at Harrison Industries, the atmosphere was electric. With tension, security guards flanked the elevators. Reporters clustered outside the glass doors like vultures. Inside, Noah was waiting in the boardroom, his tie loose, his sleeves rolled up. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. On the screen, behind him was a paused security feed, grainy timestamp from 3 nights ago. "Play it," I said. He hit the button. The footage flickered to life. It showed a dim office hallway. 2 men in maintenance uniforms pushing a cleaning cart. One of them stopped outside the data center, swiped a stolen key card, and entered. Noah zoomed in on the feed. The second man turned slightly toward the camera. Even with the mask, I recognized him instantly. One of senior IT consultants. They planted the virus. Physically, Noah said, a USB drive into the core server. That's how they bypass the firewall. "So all we need to do is prove it," I said. He nodded slowly, "Already working on it. But there's a complication." "What kind?" He hesitated, then turned to face me fully. The access logs were wiped. Every trace except one. He reached into his desk and tossed a printed document onto the table. My stomach turned to ice when I saw the name at the top of the login sheet. Tessa Ford, my own credentials, my own digital signature. I looked up sharply. "That's impossible." "I know," Noah said, "but the system doesn't." The walls seemed to tilt. "Someone cloned my access key." He nodded grimly. "Which means they have physical access to your ID card, your laptop, maybe even your home system." My mind raced. Then, they've been watching me this whole time. The next 48 hours passed in a blur of damage control. Noah and I barely slept. Our legal teams worked around the clock while forensic analysts combed through terabytes of data searching for proof of the breach. Every new discovery led to another layer of deceit. And then, finally, a name appeared. Ava Miller. Her credentials had been used 3 times in the last month to access files in both corporations. Files she shouldn't even have known existed. The final access was logged the same night. She vanished from the gala. I stared at the screen, the truth snapping into focus. She wasn't just running from them, I whispered. She was working for both sides. Noah frowned, meaning she was blackmailing Valen, threatening to expose them if they didn't pay her off. That's why she was scared. That's why she told me they weren't done. She thought they'd let her live if she stayed quiet. He swore under his breath. And now she's disappeared with the evidence. 3 days later, we found her. Or, rather, she found us. A courier delivered a small package to my office. Unmarked, sealed in brown paper. Inside was a USB drive and a handwritten note. "I'm sorry for everything. The truth is, all I have left." Ava, Noah, and I looked at each other, a shared flicker of understanding passing between us. He plugged the drive into a secured laptop, and within seconds a folder appeared. Dozens of video files, audio recordings, financial transfers, long-gone executives, discussing how to frame us, payments made to fake witnesses, correspondence, confirming that Ava had been hired to impersonate the mother of Noah's child, to trigger the prenup scandal. Everything. We had everything. By midnight, our lawyers were at the district attorney's office handing over the evidence. The next morning, the arrest began. Christopher Vale was taken into custody for fraud, cyber sabotage, and corporate espionage. Harrison and Ford stock skyrocketed within hours. The media spun a new narrative overnight. Villainous turned Victor Aries exposes corporate coup, but victory never feels like the movies say it does. When the storm finally ended, the city felt strangely quiet. I stood on the balcony of my office, watching dawn wash over the skyline. The cold air tasted of rain, and something clean like new beginnings. Noah joined me, 2 mugs of coffee in hand. He handed me one. "You saved both our families," he said softly. I smiled faintly. I also saved your ego. He laughed under his breath. You've always been trouble, Tessa. I prefer calculated risk. We stood there for a long moment, silent, except for the hum of the city below. Then he spoke again, voice low, but steady. The board wants to reschedule the engagement party. I looked at him sideways. And you? He met my gaze. I want to start over. No contracts, no games, just us. For once, there were no words glowing in the air. No omission text mocking or guiding my choices. Just silence. Real human. Silence. I took a slow sip of coffee. I said at last, the villainous doesn't usually get a happy ending. He smiled. Then let's rewrite the story. A week later, I returned to the same ballroom where it had all begun. The place that had once witnessed my humiliation was now flooded with gold, light, laughter, and champagne. Reporters called it the Redemption Gala. I walked past the glass doors, my silver gown shimmering like moonlight, the whispers following me not in scorn, but in awe. And as Noah crossed the room to meet me, his hand reaching for mine, I realized the truth. I hadn't just survived the story they wrote for me. I'd taken the pen and written my own. Far away in a small motel off the coast, Ava watched the news on an old television set. She was pale, frail, a ghost of herself. Her son, the little boy who had once called Noah daddy, slept peacefully beside her. She turned off the TV, a tear slipping down her cheek. You're safe now, Nikki, she whispered. It's over. But as she reached for the bedside drawer, her hand froze. Inside, hidden beneath the old receipts and a worn passport, was a flash drive identical to the one she'd sent me, except this one was labeled backup. A small broken smile curved her lips. No story, she murmured, ever really ends.